Attention is one of the most honest indicators of emotional investment because the human mind consistently returns to what it values. When someone occupies space in a person's thoughts, that focus quietly appears in their behavior. A man may try to maintain a calm or neutral attitude on the surface, but his attention often reveals the truth long before his words do. When a man is emotionally attached, he begins to notice details about you that others easily overlook. These details are rarely dramatic or obvious. They are often small personal things that most people would forget quickly. The way you describe your day, the music you enjoy, the goals you are working toward, or the small frustrations you mention casually in conversation. When emotional attachment is present, the brain holds on to these details because they feel important. He may remember something you said weeks ago and bring it up naturally in conversation. This is not usually done as an effort to impress you. It happens because when someone matters emotionally, their words leave a stronger impression. This deeper attention also appears in the way he listens when you speak. Many people listen only enough to respond, but a man who feels emotionally connected tends to listen with genuine focus. He pays attention to your tone, your expressions, and the meaning behind your words. Instead of quickly shifting the conversation back to himself, he remains engaged with what you are saying. This type of listening shows that your thoughts and experiences genuinely matter to him. Even when he tries to appear relaxed or casual, his consistent attention reveals the emotional space you occupy in his mind. Another subtle way attention appears is through observation. A man who is emotionally attached often notices changes in your mood or energy, even when you do not openly discuss them. He may sense when you are quieter than usual or when something seems to be bothering you. These observations happen because his mind is already tuned to your presence. When someone is emotionally important, the brain becomes more sensitive to their signals. He may ask simple questions about how you are doing or show quiet concern in moments when you appear distant. These actions may seem small, but they reveal that he is paying close attention to your emotional state. Attention also shows itself through curiosity. A man who is emotionally attached often wants to know more about your life, your experiences, and your perspective. He may ask questions about your plans, your interests, or the things that motivate you. This curiosity is not driven by obligation. It grows naturally from the emotional connection he feels. Learning more about you becomes interesting because your life feels connected to his emotional world. Another powerful indicator of focused attention is the way conversations with you remain in his memory. When people speak with someone who does not hold emotional significance, the conversation often fades quickly from memory. When emotional attachment is present, the brain processes those interactions differently. He may revisit something you said earlier, reflect on it later, or bring it back into conversation days afterward. These moments reveal that the interaction stayed with him long after it ended. You may also notice this attention in the way he reacts to your achievements or struggles. A man who is emotionally attached often shows genuine interest in your progress and challenges. When something good happens in your life, he celebrates it with sincere enthusiasm. When you face difficulties, he may show quiet concern or offer support in subtle ways. These reactions come from emotional investment because your experiences begin to matter to him on a deeper level. Attention can also appear through presence. When you are speaking with him, he may naturally shift his focus fully toward you. His body language may show engagement through eye contact, leaning slightly closer, or maintaining awareness of your reactions. These physical signals often occur unconsciously because emotional attachment directs attention without deliberate effort. The mind simply wants to stay engaged with the person it values. Another aspect of this keynote is consistency of attention. When someone feels emotionally connected, their interest does not disappear quickly. Even if he becomes busy or distracted with other responsibilities, he often finds his attention returning to you over time. He may reach out again after a quiet period, ask about something you mentioned earlier, or reconnect through small interactions. This repeated focus shows that your presence remains active in his thoughts. Attention also reveals itself in protective awareness. A man who is emotionally attached may become more alert to how others treat you or speak about you, even without openly declaring his feelings. He may show subtle signs of protectiveness when someone dismisses you or misunderstands your intentions. This reaction comes from the emotional importance he places on your well-being and reputation. The first keynote reveals an essential truth about emotional attachment. Attention rarely lies. Words can be carefully chosen, emotions can be hidden, and expressions can be controlled. But attention naturally flows toward what the heart values. When a man consistently notices details about you, listens deeply, remembers your words, and remains curious about your life, These behaviors quietly reveal that you occupy meaningful space in his mind. Even if he chooses not to openly express his emotions, the way his attention continually returns to you speaks clearly about the connection he feels. Emotional attachment rarely reveals itself through dramatic words in the beginning. Instead, it appears through repeated actions that show someone keeps returning to you. Consistency is powerful because it reflects genuine interest that continues over time rather than appearing only when it is convenient. A man who feels emotionally connected may try to appear calm, independent, or even slightly distant, but his actions will often show that he continues finding ways to remain present in your life. When emotional attachment grows, a man naturally begins including you in the rhythm of his daily thoughts. This does not always mean constant conversation or overwhelming attention. Instead, it appears in the way he checks in, remembers to reach out, or reconnects after time has passed. Even if days become busy or circumstances create distance, he often finds his way back into communication. This repeated return is important because it shows that the connection holds a place in his mind. People rarely maintain consistent presence in someone's life unless that person matters to them on a deeper emotional level. Consistency also reveals itself through reliability. A man who is emotionally attached tends to follow through on the small things he says he will do. If he promises to call, send something, or help with a situation, he often makes an effort to keep that promise. This behavior reflects emotional respect because he does not want to create disappointment or distance in the connection. Even when he tries not to appear overly invested, his actions show that he values maintaining trust and continuity with you. Another subtle sign of consistent emotional attachment is the way he remains engaged with your life over time. Many casual connections fade quickly because interest disappears once the excitement of the moment passes. A man who is emotionally attached continues paying attention to what is happening in your world. He asks about the things you mentioned before, remembers events you were preparing for, and shows curiosity about how situations turned out. This repeated engagement shows that your experiences remain important in his mind beyond the immediate moment of conversation. Consistency can also appear in the emotional tone he maintains towards you. Even if he hides deeper feelings, he often treats you with steady respect and warmth. His behavior does not fluctuate dramatically between interest and indifference. Instead, he maintains a level of kindness and attentiveness that remains stable over time. This emotional steadiness reflects the underlying attachment he feels because people tend to protect connections that hold genuine meaning for them. Another way consistency reveals emotional attachment is through availability during important moments. A man who feels connected may show up when you need support, even if he does not openly express strong emotions. He may offer help, listen when you share something difficult, or simply remain present in conversation when you are facing challenges. These moments of availability demonstrate that he cares about your well-being, even if he chooses not to describe those feelings directly. You may also notice that he remains part of your life in subtle ways, even during quiet periods. Emotional attachment does not always require constant communication. Instead, it appears through the way someone maintains connection over time. He may reappear with a message, respond thoughtfully to something you shared, or check in after noticing that you have been distant. These small actions show that you remain on his mind even when life temporarily pulls his attention elsewhere. Consistency also reflects emotional effort. Maintaining connection requires energy and attention, and people generally invest that effort only where it feels meaningful. When a man repeatedly chooses to stay connected, it reveals that he values the bond, even if he avoids discussing his feelings openly. The decision to remain present demonstrates that he does not want the connection to disappear. Another subtle indicator of consistent attachment is how naturally he integrates you into conversation and thought. He may mention something that reminded him of you, share information he believes you would find interesting, or recall something from a previous discussion. These moments reveal that your presence exists in his mental landscape beyond the immediate interaction. Your voice, opinions, and interests become part of the way he processes experiences. Consistency also builds emotional familiarity. Over time, the repeated interactions create a sense of comfort and trust. A man who is emotionally attached often feels a natural ease when communicating with you. Even if he occasionally tries to hide deeper feelings, he continues returning to the connection because it provides a sense of emotional stability and understanding. This keynote reveals an important truth about emotional attachment. Genuine connection often appears through repeated presence rather than dramatic declarations. Words can be carefully chosen or withheld, but consistent actions are difficult to fake over long periods of time. When a man continues to show up in your life, remembers your experiences, maintains respectful communication, and returns to the connection again and again, These behaviors reveal the emotional significance you hold in his world. Even if he tries to keep his feelings private, the consistency of his attention and presence quietly shows that the bond between you has meaning in his life. Emotional awareness means he begins paying attention not only to what you say, but also to how you feel. A man who is emotionally attached often develops a quiet sensitivity toward your moods, your reactions, and the emotional signals you give, even when you do not openly express them. This type of awareness grows naturally when someone becomes important in another person's emotional world. When a man begins to care deeply, his mind automatically starts observing small changes in your energy. He may notice when your voice sounds slightly different, when your messages are shorter than usual, or when your enthusiasm in conversation fades. These changes may seem minor, but they catch his attention because your emotional state matters to him more than he admits. The brain tends to monitor what it values, and emotional attachment creates a kind of quiet alertness toward the person who holds that importance. This awareness often appears in the way he asks about you. His questions may not always sound dramatic or overly emotional, but they reveal genuine concern. He may ask if everything is all right, if something has been bothering you, or if your day went the way you hoped. These questions show that he is paying attention to your experience rather than simply focusing on his own. Emotional awareness shifts the conversation from casual interaction to deeper interest because he begins thinking about how you feel, not just what you say. Another sign of this keynote appears when he reacts to your struggles. When you share something difficult, a man who is emotionally attached tends to respond with patience and attentiveness. He listens more carefully and may offer reassurance or thoughtful advice. Even if he does not always know the perfect words to say, his willingness to remain engaged shows that your emotional well-being matters to him. The connection becomes more than simple conversation. It becomes a space where he feels responsible in a quiet way for understanding and supporting you. Emotional awareness also appears in the way he remembers moments when you felt happy, proud, or excited. He may bring those moments back into conversation, asking how something turned out or celebrating the progress you made. This behavior shows that he is mentally tracking your emotional journey. Your victories and challenges do not disappear from his memory because they become connected to the way he thinks about you. Another subtle indicator is how he adjusts his behavior when he senses that you are uncomfortable or upset. A man who is emotionally attached often becomes more careful with his words and actions when he notices that something feels wrong. He may try to lighten the conversation, offer encouragement, or simply listen without interrupting. This adjustment happens because he does not want to create distance or pain in the connection. Your emotional comfort becomes something he instinctively protects. You may also notice that he becomes slightly protective of your feelings in conversations with others. If someone speaks about you in a dismissive or critical way, he may gently correct the misunderstanding or defend your perspective. This reaction shows that he values how you are perceived and does not want your character or intentions to be misrepresented. Emotional attachment often brings a sense of loyalty that appears in moments like these. Another way emotional awareness reveals itself is through empathy. A man who feels attached often tries to imagine how situations affect you. When you describe a challenge, he may reflect on how it must feel from your perspective. This ability to mentally place himself in your emotional experience shows that he is not simply listening out of politeness. He is trying to understand the situation through your eyes, which indicates a deeper level of connection. Emotional awareness can also appear during moments when you become distant. If you step back from conversation or communication, he may notice the change quickly. Even if he does not immediately confront it, the difference remains in his mind. He may check in after some time or try to reconnect because the silence feels unusual to him. When someone becomes emotionally important, their absence creates a noticeable shift that the mind cannot easily ignore. Another important aspect of this keynote is the way he reacts to your happiness. When something positive happens in your life, a man who is emotionally attached often shows genuine excitement. Your joy becomes meaningful to him because he feels emotionally connected to your experiences. He may congratulate you enthusiastically or express pride in what you have accomplished. These reactions show that your emotional highs matter to him, not just your struggles. This emotional awareness also deepens the quality of your interactions. Conversations with him may feel more thoughtful and attentive compared to casual interactions with others. He remembers what you say, responds with understanding, and tries to engage with your thoughts on a deeper level. Even if he does not openly declare his feelings, the care he shows during these moments reveals that the connection holds significance in his mind. Emotional attachment quietly changes the way someone listens, observes, and reacts. A man who is hiding his feelings may still reveal them through the attention he gives to your emotional world. He notices your moods, responds to your struggles, celebrates your happiness, and tries to understand what you experience. These behaviors show that your feelings carry weight in his mind, and that awareness is one of the clearest signals that his connection to you has moved beyond casual interest into something deeper. Protection in this sense does not always mean dramatic gestures or obvious acts of defense. It often appears in subtle ways that reveal he cares about your well-being, your reputation, and the way others treat you. When emotional attachment forms, a man naturally becomes more aware of anything that could negatively affect the person he values. This instinct develops without him necessarily realizing it, because emotional investment creates a sense of responsibility toward the person who holds space in his heart. One of the first signs of this protective instinct is the way he reacts when someone speaks negatively about you. Even if he does not openly confront the situation with anger or intensity, he may quietly correct misunderstandings or shift the conversation. He may explain your perspective, clarify something that was said about you, or defend your intentions. These moments reveal that he does not feel comfortable allowing others to misjudge you. Protecting your image becomes important because your reputation and dignity matter to him emotionally. Another subtle sign appears in the way he becomes attentive to situations that might affect your comfort or safety. If you are in a social environment, he may notice when something feels awkward or uncomfortable for you. He might guide the conversation in a more positive direction, remain nearby, or check in quietly to make sure you are okay. These actions may not appear dramatic, but they show a heightened awareness of your experience. Emotional attachment causes someone to monitor the environment in relation to the person they care about, ensuring that nothing disrupts their sense of security. This protective instinct can also be seen in the advice he gives. When a man feels emotionally connected, he often wants to help you avoid difficulties or challenges that could cause stress or harm. If you share a situation where you are uncertain, he may offer thoughtful suggestions or perspectives designed to support you. His advice often carries a tone of genuine concern rather than control, because his motivation is rooted in wanting to see you safe and successful. He may not openly admit that he cares deeply, but his willingness to guide and support reveals the emotional investment behind his words. Another way this keynote appears is through the way he reacts when you face criticism or disappointment. A man who is emotionally attached often shows empathy and encouragement during these moments. If someone has hurt your feelings or dismissed your efforts, he may remind you of your strengths and reassure you that the situation does not define your value. This reaction comes from a place of emotional connection because your pain naturally affects him as well. Seeing you discouraged may motivate him to offer support, even if he tries to present it casually. Protective behavior also emerges in the way he respects your boundaries and encourages others to do the same. A man who feels attached often becomes sensitive to situations where someone may be pushing your limits or disrespecting your choices. He may speak up gently or redirect the situation in a way that supports your comfort. This respect for your boundaries reflects deeper care because it shows he values your autonomy and well-being. Another important aspect of this protective instinct is loyalty. A man who is emotionally attached tends to remain loyal in conversations about you, even when you are not present. He avoids participating in gossip or criticism directed at you and may change the subject if the discussion becomes unfair. Loyalty appears naturally because emotional attachment creates a sense of partnership. Even if the relationship has not been openly defined, he sees your dignity as something worth protecting, and his behavior reflects that internal commitment. You may also notice this instinct in the way he responds to your challenges or ambitions. If you are pursuing a goal, he may become encouraging and supportive of your progress. He might remind you of your abilities, offer assistance, or celebrate your achievements with genuine enthusiasm. His motivation comes from wanting to see you succeed and thrive. Emotional attachment transforms your goals into something meaningful for him as well, because your happiness and progress feel personally important. Protective instincts can also appear through attentiveness during vulnerable moments. If you share something personal or sensitive, he may handle that information carefully and respectfully. He avoids using it against you or exposing it unnecessarily to others. This respect for your vulnerability demonstrates emotional maturity and genuine care, because he recognizes the trust you placed in him by sharing those parts of yourself. Another subtle sign is the way he remains attentive to how others interact with you. Even in group settings, he may observe the dynamics around you and notice if someone is being dismissive or disrespectful. Without creating conflict, he may shift the conversation, offer you support, or help restore a sense of balance in the interaction. These actions reveal that your emotional comfort remains important in his awareness. Protective instincts often develop quietly because emotional attachment changes the way someone views another person's place in their life. When a man feels connected, he begins to see your well-being as something worth guarding. He may not express his feelings openly, but his behavior reflects the respect, care, and loyalty he feels internally. The way he protects your reputation, supports your challenges, respects your boundaries, and remains attentive to your comfort shows that you hold emotional importance in his world, even without direct words. These actions reveal that your presence matters deeply to him. Vulnerability is one of the most difficult things for many people to show, especially for men who often feel pressure to appear strong, composed, and emotionally controlled. Because of this, a man who is secretly attached may not immediately reveal his deeper feelings. Instead, vulnerability appears slowly, in small moments where he begins to let you see parts of his inner world that he usually keeps hidden from others. When emotional attachment begins to grow, the mind naturally searches for a place of trust. A man who feels connected to you may start sharing personal thoughts or experiences that he does not openly discuss with most people. These moments may not always be dramatic confessions. Sometimes they appear as stories about his past, reflections about difficult experiences, or quiet admissions about things that worry him. By sharing these parts of himself, he is allowing you to see beyond the confident or composed image he shows to the outside world. This shift often happens because he feels emotionally safe in your presence. Another subtle sign of vulnerability appears in the way he begins to talk about his struggles. Many men prefer to handle their problems privately, believing they should solve everything on their own. When emotional attachment develops, that wall can slowly soften. He may mention pressures he is facing, uncertainties about his future, or moments where he feels frustrated or tired. These conversations reveal something important because they show he is allowing you into areas of his life where he usually stands alone. Opening up about struggles requires trust, and trust often grows from emotional connection. You may also notice vulnerability in the way he asks for your opinion or advice. When someone values another person emotionally, their perspective begins to matter more. A man who is attached may begin asking what you think about certain decisions or situations in his life. He may listen carefully to your thoughts and genuinely consider them. This behavior shows that your voice carries influence in his mind. Seeking guidance or feedback reveals that he respects your judgment and feels comfortable letting you see the situations he is navigating. Another way vulnerability reveals itself is through emotional honesty and conversation. At times, he may express feelings such as frustration, disappointment, or confusion about something happening in his life. These expressions are important because they show he is not trying to appear perfect or invulnerable in front of you. Instead, he is allowing you to witness real emotions. Emotional honesty requires courage, and people usually reserve that openness for those they trust deeply. You might also notice that he shares memories that shaped who he is today. These stories may include experiences from childhood, lessons he learned through failure, or moments that changed his perspective on life. When someone speaks about their past in this way, they are offering insight into their identity and values. Allowing you to see these parts of his history means he is comfortable letting you understand him on a deeper level. This level of openness rarely occurs in casual relationships because it involves revealing the foundation of who someone truly is. Vulnerability can also appear in quieter ways, such as moments when he admits uncertainty. A man who feels emotionally attached may acknowledge when he does not have all the answers. He may talk about challenges he is still trying to figure out or goals he is unsure how to achieve. Admitting uncertainty requires humility and trust because it shows he is willing to be seen without the usual confidence he presents to the world. Sharing these moments indicates that he feels safe, allowing you to see both his strengths and his doubts. Another sign is the emotional comfort he displays when speaking with you. Conversations may become more relaxed and natural compared to how he interacts with others. He may laugh more freely, speak more openly, or share thoughts that come to his mind without overthinking them. This comfort suggests that he feels accepted and understood in your presence. Emotional safety encourages openness, and openness is one of the clearest signals of growing attachment. You may also observe that he remembers how you respond to his vulnerable moments. If you listen with patience and understanding, he may return to that space of openness again in the future. This repeated sharing shows that he values the emotional connection you have created. The more he trusts your reactions, the more willing he becomes to reveal deeper thoughts and feelings. Another powerful aspect of vulnerability is the way he allows you to see moments of weakness or exhaustion. Instead of always presenting strength, he may occasionally admit when he feels overwhelmed or uncertain. These admissions are meaningful because they show that he does not feel the need to hide every imperfection around you. Allowing someone to see these moments reflects emotional closeness and trust. Vulnerability often grows gradually, appearing in small pieces rather than sudden confessions. A man who is emotionally attached may still try to hide the depth of his feelings, but his willingness to open parts of his inner world reveals the connection he feels. Sharing struggles, asking for your perspective, speaking honestly about emotions, and allowing you to see his uncertainties all demonstrate that he trusts you with parts of himself that few people see. These moments of openness quietly reveal that the bond between you has moved beyond casual interaction and into a deeper emotional space. Emotional attachment creates a psychological pattern where someone begins to occupy a consistent space in another person's thoughts. This does not always show through obvious expressions or direct words, but it becomes visible through the subtle ways he brings you into conversations, references things that remind him of you, or finds reasons to reconnect after time has passed. When a person becomes emotionally significant, the mind does not easily move on from their presence. One of the first signs of this pattern is the way he mentions things that reminded him of you. It could be something simple like a song, a place, a movie, or even a random moment during his day. Instead of keeping that thought to himself, he chooses to share it with you. This behavior reveals that his mind associates everyday experiences with your presence. When emotional attachment grows, the brain naturally forms connections between the person and the things happening in life. These associations cause him to think about you even when you are not physically present. Another subtle sign appears in the way he returns to conversations that happened earlier. He may remember something you discussed days ago and bring it back into the present moment. Perhaps he asks how a situation turned out or follows up on something you mentioned previously. These moments show that your conversations remain active in his memory long after they end. The fact that he revisits these topics demonstrates that your words continue to exist in his thoughts. You may also notice this keynote in the way he reaches out after quiet periods. Life can become busy, and communication may pause for a while, but a man who is emotionally attached often finds his way back into contact. He might send a message, share something interesting, or simply ask how you have been. This return is important because it shows that the connection still lives in his mind. Even when time passes, the emotional space you occupy does not disappear. Another indication appears when he involves you in stories about his day or experiences. Instead of simply living those moments privately, he feels an urge to tell you about them. Sharing daily experiences is a way of including someone in your life, even when they are not physically present. When a man consistently does this, it suggests that your presence matters enough for him to want you connected to his world. The way he reacts to your absence also reveals this mental connection. When communication becomes quieter or you step back slightly, he may begin to notice the difference quickly. Your absence creates a gap in the rhythm of interaction that he has grown used to. He may begin to wonder what you are doing, how you are feeling, or why the connection feels different. This curiosity comes from the emotional space you occupy in his mind. When someone becomes important, their absence is felt more strongly than their constant presence. Another subtle sign is the way he integrates you into future thinking. During conversations, he may reference things you could do together later, events you might enjoy, or experiences you might share. Even if these ideas are mentioned casually, they reveal that he is imagining you as part of moments that have not happened yet. When someone includes another person in future possibilities, it shows that their mind naturally considers that person's presence when thinking ahead. You might also observe this keynote in the way he responds to things that affect you. If something important happens in your life, he may remember it and check back later to see how things turned out. This behavior shows that he continues thinking about your experiences even after the initial conversation has ended. The emotional connection keeps those details active in his thoughts. Another powerful indicator is the emotional tone of his communication when he reconnects. When he returns after some time, he may speak with familiarity and warmth, as though the connection has not faded. This suggests that the emotional bond remained in his mind during the time apart. People rarely maintain this sense of continuity unless someone holds genuine importance in their thoughts. This keynote also appears in the way he notices patterns related to you. He might remember your routines, your preferences, or the types of things that interest you. When he encounters something related to those interests, his mind naturally links it back to you. These mental connections demonstrate that you have become part of his internal landscape. The human mind tends to focus on what carries emotional value. When someone becomes emotionally significant, thoughts about them appear repeatedly throughout the day without deliberate effort. A man who is emotionally attached may not openly express the depth of his feelings, but his behavior reveals that you remain present in his thoughts. The memories he recalls, the conversations he revisits, the experiences he shares, and the way he reconnects after time apart all show that your presence continues to exist in his mind. Even without direct words, the repeated return of his attention reveals the emotional space you hold in his life.